Hello, hello, hello. This is the
That's not good. We're gonna clap again. Let's get another clap going.
Hello, this is Logan and the Three Amigos on 101.25 KUNT. Big cunts all the time.
That was perfect. Hi guys, welcome to Your Thoughts Podcast with Jesse Martinez
And Tyler Beck.
We have Logan here. We also have another thing going on that we'll talk about a little later. But welcome to the pad and the Three Amigos. This is the Three Amigos. Logan, I don't know what Logan does, but he's gonna tell us.
He's a journalist.
He's a journal. Oh, you do.
I know.
journalism?
Apparently so. That's what it says on my website. And when I wake up in the morning, I have to remind myself what I do. To give you a little background, my name's Logan, and pretty much I am a journalist. I've been writing professionally for the last 3 years.
You get paid to write?
Actually, yes, I do. Yeah.
I don't get paid to do anything.
It's actually, it's actually kind of awesome because it's in a way, it's like being a celebrity where no one knows you because you do get paid, but also a lot of things you get is free stuff. Like you go to shows and you kind of like you get stuff that can't pay the bills, and it makes you kind of bitter.
Yeah, just
but
like right under there.
yeah, it's like wow, I'm like mingling with all these rich people, but I can't afford the drinks at the bar. But yeah.
So if you do a journalist piece on Your Thoughts, I will give you a shirt that says KUNT.
Well, that sounds like state-run propaganda. I will do a piece if it inspires me. But it's
You're a good journalist.
Are you bribing him?
There's a little bit of a bribe.
I know.
It's a tad bit of a bribe.
I would
Make
love
it good. Make it sound good. We have Brandy over there doing some stuff. Hey, B-Rand. She's doing some cinematography, which this isn't a movie, so I guess it's just not that.
I think it's just camera.
It's just camera work. She's just making us look good. Let's get that close-up. Thanks, guys. So, journalism, is that fun?
Wow, when you say like journalism, it's like kind of like going into a room and be like, so you're a clown. Clowns. That's a great, that's fun. But yeah, I kind of just consider it writing because, I don't just like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I do write hard news in some aspects, and I also, I do album reviews, stuff like that. But, I also write poetry.
Oh, good.
I'm trying to get into audio plays more. I mean, as you can see, I like being weird, and
Yeah.
I just like doing weird voices. Those will come. It's more natural.
We talked to Logan for about a half hour before we started the podcast, and I really wish we would have recorded it because everything was gold. I almost wanted him to just stop talking and just wait.
That's why I was quiet when I first came in here, because I was just like, okay, that sounds cocky. It was just like, I was just so afraid that the gold was going to come out of my mouth. What am I to do?
Fears recognized because they did. It was a pretty bummer. I think this podcast is going to suck now. You got all of it out.
I just want to give our viewers just kind of just an idea that, I came here last night. I had my hair brushed. I was ready to go to this show. Everything was looking great. I was slim. I wasn't feeling bloated. And then, I eat one. you just eat one pot cookie. And I say pot because, it's just for the older folk here listening. And I fell asleep on my friend's couch, who was incidentally 8 minutes away from here, which is great.
Wow, that is incidental and coincidental.
Yeah, I woke up at 11:30 when you told me to be here.
Thank you, thank you for being here. Either way, really.
You are not the first guest to do that.
Oh, you're not the second guest to do that. You're most guests. You're almost everybody who's done this.
Sometimes I have those calls of the void where like I'm just on my way to something and I'm just like I could just leave this all. I could just like not show up. I could just change my name. I could delete everything, and we'll never be here again.
Logan, what show did you go to last night?
I actually went to the Summer Round Robin. It had some great performers. There was actually a full performance by the band Acne Superstar. There was Asa Martin. My phone has names on it too because there were some awesome performers, but essentially it was pretty much an acoustic show. There was a lot of performers there were kind of doing their material in an acoustic set. There was even a local rapper. The only thing he had was a Bluetooth speaker and essentially him. Like, his friend
Did they
Matt.
mic the speaker?
Not even.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. It was a very like it was almost like watching one of those historical Greek scenes with somebody speaking at the Agora. Ooh. And it was very poetically intense.
Ooh. I like it. I've never been to something like that. Did you like
Definitely.
it though? Like as
Oh, of course, yeah. It's kind of like I do have to numb myself with weed and booze to just get rid of some of the social anxiety.
don't we all?
But yes, do I enjoy it at heart? Of course I do.
Well, I'm glad that you have a passion that you're doing. You said you do. Do you do a lot in the music scene as far as?
Actually, yeah. What's funny is I've written sports, I've written hard news, I've done all these things just to diversify myself. But
You
I've always come
mentioned
back
cannabis news as well.
excuse me.
Cannabis news?
Oh yeah, cannabis. I actually wrote for this place called cannabisnewsbox.com.
Oh yeah, cannabis.
Yeah.
Right. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
stuff.
it was actually not that fun. It was just I mean, it's a great publication, hard news, very official, but at the same time music just keeps pulling me back. I just keep ending up back here.
I can't imagine if I were to be a writer and a journalist doing journalism work. I think the action would be in the music because like shows are always great. Me and Tyler have been in the music scene forever. It's like our lives. But if I was not gonna do music, like actual music, I'd probably write about it. I think it would be really cool for people to view my opinions on what's going on.
It kind of started in a weird way too. I was 12 years old and I went on this, and this was in the early 2000s. So it was kind of the zenith of like dumb bulletin board forums of just people yelling at each other. And there was this thing called like govteen.com, and I just used to go on this life of a bisexual teen blog because that's when I thought I was bi at the time. And I used to just like barrage people with my concert reviews that they weren't asking for.
That's
like
how you
on
gotta
this
do it.
forum, like I would just like, and it was definitely, they're still up there too. Like
Really?
yeah, it's from like 2008. Like to give you, I'm like, I think I'm 23. That's what my birth certificate says.
Really?
You think?
Maybe.
Yeah, I
don't
think
know.
maybe.
Hopefully, any of us the actual age that their birth certificate says. Government lies all the time.
I know.
Can you where do you find a lot of your reports and stuff like that?
Oh well, it kind of just it's kind of the point now where I'm kind of just thrown material just like in any direction, but it depends what publication you're talking about. Like I started out in the rave community, and I started writing
That's
about.
got to be a weird one to journalize.
It is, yeah, because
Made
it's
up a
really
word.
not a community that's based on writing and kind of things of as kindly to put this, an intellectual nature. It's a very party good vibes type of place, and it's still developing because, as you know, that electronic music really just boomed in 2010, and it's kind of just been on this, it's been running on Steam since then. And I'm either kind of waiting for the popularity to kind of crash how like early 2000s rock kind of did in favor of hip hop, or kind of just change into something else.
But as in the sense of early 2000s rock, I'm really glad that crashed because it wasn't super great. The early 2000s, nothing was awesome.
I'm glad you said that because I
don't
kind of
know.
said that in a neutral way.
A lot of like Silver Sun Pickups, that was early 2000s, wasn't
They
it?
didn't start. No, they started in 91.
91?
I believe so. You can look
Jeez.
that up. We can fact check that. But they started in the 90s. I know they did. I don't think anything that actually started in the early 2000s was good. It was a weird transitional period of time where they were trying to do new things, and everything nowadays is a little better. I still don't like new things.
2002.
Damn it. That was their first album release?
Yeah, and Brand New came out in around the 2000s as well. I think there was a lot of good bands.
I do like the Silver Sun Pickups.
As far as radio bands, I don't think the radio music
Do you know who
was
the
well.
Silver Sun Pickups are?
I do.
Do you like them?
Even Green Day had a lot of radio hits in the
I'm
2000s.
indifferent. I'm
Really?
indifferent. Yeah. I kind of, I don't know. Early 2000s rock, like when I specifically think of that word, I just hear of every single band that kind of sounded like Creed at one point.
Yeah, that's right.
And
bro.
or my favorite name for Creed and Nickelback is Creedleback.
Creedleback. I
'cause I
love
kinda-
that. It's insulting.
They're the same. I don't know. Their fans fight, but I don't know why. Because I feel like they sound like they'd be like the same band almost.
It's true. They're the same thing. A little less Jesus-y on the whole Nickelback side, but I think sound-wise though, Creed over Nickelback, and I hate them both. But I'd rather listen to Creed over Nickelback because Creed. Yeah, well, you're right. Nickelback is Nickelback, but Creed has. I'm going to talk about Creed in like a positive light for once in my life, but
Whoa.
over Nickelback, I know this is weird. They're more in tune with the music. I think Creed just kind of goes, what do people want to hear? And they throw out some 4/4 chords and some garbage lyrics about partying. But Creed, as much as I don't agree with what they're singing about, they're more technical. They seem to care a little bit more about the musical aspect of it. And also, what they're singing about is in tune with themselves and not just what everybody wants to hear. So when you think Creed, it's a bad band, personally. But in comparison to Nickelback, much better.
It's a bad band with heart.
With heart. I'll give it that. That's good. So, yeah.
I've seen
early
Nickelback
2000s.
live.
Yeah, but you went with your dad, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so your dad.
It's definitely dad rock.
It's dad rock. It's Christian dad rock.
Christian dad rock.
Oh.
You know what's even more
Spot
depressing is like now I've been to plenty of performances with my grandma, because when you're growing up and you don't really have like friends, or your friends like can't afford the tickets like that, you know, you've saved up and that's the only thing you spend your money on, then like, you know, you take your grandma. And so
No,
like
you
I've
don't.
been
You don't, but you don't though.
I feel like there's been a secret that's kept from me. You don't take your grandma to concerts. What?
I've never been
Okay,
to any concert
Mine
with
is
my
a young
grandmas,
ass. Mine
either
is a
of them.
young ass grandma.
Oh, my
so I
grandmother's
guess.
only 55.
Oh,
But she's got every broken bone in her body. And
Sure.
yeah. Well, my mother had me at 16, 17 years old.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, so my grandmother, when I was born, was like 30-something.
My grandma's like in her early 60s. Like I'm looking at the camera now, like Jim from The Office, because I thought my grandma had everyone beat.
No,
Like-
no. My grandma could be my mom.
Ugh.
Like, could be that, but
Trying to one up me. This is
not trying
disgusting.
to. I'm demolishing your one up right now. Continue. You take your grandma to hardcore punk shows.
But anywho, what
I
I'm
get
trying to
that.
say is, I'm sure you've been to. Have you guys ever been to a concert where you definitely did not like the artist? Like for me, I am not a
Yes.
huge fan of John Mayer, but I've seen John Mayer twice with my
I'm
grandma.
a little
and
jealous. I really like.
He
John
is
Mayer.
actually
I do not like John Mayer.
A+ performer.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
it's insane. It's insane like how even people whose music I don't like, it's like they could still wow me and be like, "Dang, this is
Listen.
yeah."
you take something that they recorded and you don't necessarily like their music. That's one thing, right? But if you go to a No Effects show and Rancid is playing, example because it happened, and you don't like No Effects, but Rancid is there, so you go, and then you see No Effects and you still don't like their music, but they're really good performers. They're not. This is just example.
Well, live performance is just definitely something else.
It's different.
It's a completely different experience
Right.
than listening to it with your headphones or in
you
your
get
car
to
or
see them
something.
visually, and what makes or breaks a band usually is when you go to a show how they perform. Their music could be awesome, but then they're standing around like kind of just hopping off one foot to the other, swaying aside. You're not interested.
You need to feel their
interested.
energy,
Yeah.
and they need to give you energy.
So
to
somebody
feel.
who you don't like could still put on a really, really good show.
Yeah, I was kind of drunk when I went to the second John Mayer show.
Are you never not intoxicated?
Okay,
slightly?
you know, well, the thing is,
the
Oh,
first thing
God.
that you said, this is the first time I've met you. It was a crazy night. That's
well,
what you said to me. I had a crazy night.
my hair is usually brushed. I am balding, and my bald spots are showing.
I
What
like
do you
it, though.
expect me to do? Oh my
Shows
goodness!
distinguishity.
You know, I enjoy distinguished.
You
but
look like
I
you're having
also-
fun.
Oh yeah, having fun.
You're living
yeah.
life, man. Living life large and bald, and that's okay.
Large
That's
and
absolutely-
bald. Honestly, I'm feeling uncomfortable. This is an intervention for my
Yes, it is.
comfort.
You need to grow some hair,
of
please.
baldness.
Well, you guys can see he's not that bald. He's just
Exactly.
it's just receding hairline, and that's
Exactly.
just
Push
sexy.
back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just. But
What happens if you go overcomb?
I don't.
Comb
Okay,
over?
we're not exploring different hairstyles here. Like I
We could be. Go ahead.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
I was actually looking for a hat before I came here, but
Didn't find one.
yeah. But anywho, when I was at the John Mayer concert, there was lead singer from Boys Like Girls.
That's
who,
so weird.
Who started another band, and he's kind of doing like.
Called Girls Like Boys.
I really wish it was that, because it was not that great synth pop instead.
Ew.
And you know, it's sad because he was actually really like engaging performer, but like they're still finding their sound. They're still on that
that's
path.
good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, you got to play shows and see what people like, and then you tune it up.
It's just
fine-tune.
weird where you're experimenting at an opening arena concert in Glendale. Like
Yeah.
that's an interesting place to be doing one of your first performances at.
Just huge. Everyone's there to see John Mayer. John
What-
Mayer's not great. I like John Mayer, but he still pulls pulls in a lot of ticket sales.
What do you mean by finding their sound? Like,
Well, in the sense that there's sometimes when, how do I put this? Sometimes when I could always tell when artists are getting used to their material, because there's sometimes to me there should be a connection with the performer and their music where it almost feels like second nature, where they could just be talking and then kind of go into their music. But it almost kind of felt like that, even though he wrote this material, it kind of felt like they were still kind of like getting used to it. Like the songs that they were singing isn't always connected
There's
to
not a lot of plastic. I almost said plastic. There's not a lot of practice in what they're doing. So I understand that. They're fresh out of the gate, and that makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah.
Tyler, what have you been up to lately?
well, yesterday we did Elena Avenue, the band that we're in. We worked on tracking drums for one of our songs. We're recording an album currently.
You want to do journalism on it?
Oh dang! Well, do I want to do the journalism? I mean, I would love to do the journalism.
I think he's gonna say no.
Yeah, please say no, because
you
we're
keep
not ready
saying
for
journalism.
Journalist, write something.
Oh,
with a pen.
You guys feel like my mother, because it's just like, oh my goodness, can you just do you want to just write something? Show me your writing. What do you write? Like, even though I've showed her my writing, she's like, what do you write?
My stepmom is the same way with my graphic design stuff. She's like, "Oh, you could do this for us," and I'm like, "It's not. It's not going to be paid."
I understand though, and I have a lot of respect for your job, because for one, I know as an honest writer, you get flack. People don't like when they're written about honestly. They don't, because sometimes it's not good. It's not good, But you do it, and you the way you talk about it, you seem to have a lot of pride for it. You've been doing it for a long time too, and now you're professional, which I know that's prideful as well. So I don't know. Congratulations. That's really fucking cool, man.
Oh, thank you. I do feel that graciously, and it's surprising to me, because you kind of discover the hard way about what it's like to do this job, because you start I want to be this Hunter S. Thompson type, and partied through college and all that. And
Did you go to college?
Oh yeah, actually, I graduated with my BA in history from ASU, but I don't know. It's like, after I realized how much people don't care about history, I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I have my BA, but here's my other stuff I do, because that's more interesting. So, but yeah, like being a journalist, it's kind of sobering, because you're realizing it's like in 2018, where there's not a lot of official newsrooms anymore, and it's kind of like a shift of how people perceive the media. It's kind of stressful, because a lot of time it doesn't pay the bills, but at the same time, like I look at my website, and I see all the stuff I've actually done, and like all the places I've written for, and I'm like, holy crap, I either forgot I did this, or this is pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And it's just all those experiences. The main reason why I wanted to get into this is connecting with people.
That's all we really want, and I've heard that a lot more lately, recently, than I have in the past growing up. But I realize that it's true that all we want to do is connect with people as human beings. Is kind of like our whole. Like, you walk around and you're like, is that a person? What should I say to that person? Will that person like me? I want that person to like me. How's my tits? But we want to connect. And so I think your job is like you're extremely connecting with people, and then they don't like it that you're doing it sometimes.
Yeah, well, it's like my whole view on journalism is I feel like I will have made it once I start getting death threats, and I haven't gotten any death threats yet.
That's a bummer. Really
I'm as you can see, I'm fishing out lines to different groups on this podcast. I'm trying to bait you guys, so just get in there, get in my inbox, get angry. Yeah, but I'm kind of I could probably say that I truly haven't written anything, derogatory about anyone. I keep it factual. I've always kind of stayed in the news area.
Yeah.
And I never, even when I'm reviewing a band, I never want to bring them down, in the sense that, like, I try to find the positive in everything. And if a band sounds inexperienced, I won't hold that against them, because they're trying to do their own thing.
You seem like an honest writer, and that's what we need. We need honesty everywhere. Like, not just writing, which there's a lot of writers who just talk out of their ass and too opinionated, and they just make people look bad. That's like fake news. Same thing. But you just seem very honest, and if I were to be able to choose a journalist to like write for us, I would choose you.
Just gonna
Not because I think you would like us, not because we've done a podcast together, and I think that you, for the exact opposite reason, in fact, I think you would be totally honest without being too, like, digging into it. Like you wouldn't dig into us, you would dig into like what the facts, and I appreciate that.
Oh
too.
yeah,
Like you mean like personal attack?
Yeah, you wouldn't do a lot of personal attacking.
I'm definitely honest about music. Like, if there's something that sounds off, I will definitely either, like, mention it. But at the same time, like, I never try to make it personal. It's also something that I definitely have to watch out for too, because I'm a very opinionated person. And sometimes, like, in places where I shouldn't want to be opinionated, I definitely do. And it's like, it's constantly like, as a journalist, I try not to break the fourth wall, but sometimes I just want to demolish it.
Break the fourth wall, you say? Hey, how do you like coffee? What do you think about coffee?
Oh my goodness. Well, I had a Keurig when I could barely pay rent.
Of course, 'cause that's more important.
Dunkin' Donuts. I'm from the East Coast, so it's really it's important to me.
Well, who was saying that last time they were on? Something about Dunkin' Donuts being really prominent in the East Coast. I think it was Ryan.
I'm not sure, but it definitely is. I was born in New York, so that's like a
Dunkin'
whole
Donuts
cultural thing in New York.
All right. So Tyler has a question. I want Tyler to ask it.
Yeah, I'd like to ask you how saturated the journalism scene is within the music scene, I guess.
Well, let me tell you. So I went into music because of passion, and you need passion to go into music journalism. It is probably the most oversaturated, in my opinion, in terms of like any other journalistic field, because a lot of the time, like, all of the things I get paid for on terms of writing is not from music. Don't get me wrong, I get free tickets, I get free like merch and all that kind of like little stuff. But at the same time, like, it's definitely because I want to do it. And it's very easy to get overwhelmed too, because like it's something that it's not really something that you could viably do as a job anymore. You could you could work for Billboard and those big publications, but it's going to be more on a freelance level. It's definitely not like
It's very competitive.
It's not really even just competitive. It's really so much more that the market is just not made to support journalists that sit in an office and get paid for it. Like these big companies that are, that own these blogs and newspapers, they just don't want to pay writers anymore full time as like salaried employees. They could get the same out of a journalist who is trained. You pretty much have to be a jack of all trades. You have to be able to take pictures. You have to write. You have to do all these things that in the past writers weren't expected to do.
So, follow-up question on that. While we're on a podcast, do you think that things like talk shows and podcasts kind of ruin the journalism field a little bit, just because that's where people are getting their information from? Sorry.
Yeah.
It's kind of I actually don't believe that at all. So I'm a little biased when I say this, is that like I used to kind of hate how YouTube used to be kind of this cesspool of, like almost nothing, and there wasn't, a lot of ways to get public opinion. But I actually love how 20-minute videos and podcasts and things like this have become more of the public conversation, because I think that, now there's so many ways to get people's different opinions. It isn't just these, giant big corporate heads that are feeding words to you. You can essentially pick and choose to who you want to listen to.
Yeah, Tyler does a lot of Joe Rogan. It's one of his favorites.
It's been very interesting watching as it progresses how much more people want to have conversations and how more invested they are with their time listening to other people have conversations.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's why I wanted to start talking on podcasts and, kind of doing the whole circuit thing, because it's, I've always kind of been a chatty Cathy. I've always been that guy who,
Oh, really? We can't tell.
Yeah. I've always been like the class clown. So, I mean, I was kind of like, I'm writing, so why don't I just talk up people's asses and see how it goes?
But is this your first podcast?
This is.
First podcast.
Definitely. Yep. This is my first podcast, everybody.
Well,
Holy
we definitely
crap.
do repeats. So if you ever want to come back on at any time, we're always down with that. Just a little scheduling, nothing crazy, and then we'll get you back on here whenever you'd like. Talk about whatever you need.
Hell yeah. And, like you guys probably heard that, I wrote for a cannabis magazine. I am actually a med card holder and a cannabis enthusiast. So, I mean, and also an informational cannabis enthusiast. So, I mean, if you guys are ever looking to do like, a little segment in the industry, and we could, I
like that idea.
I don't know if this will get you demonetized, but smoking some blunts.
We're not getting paid anyway.
Yeah. And also the idea, like we were telling you, the idea of this podcast is to get your ideas out there. If your ideas are to talk about pot and you have a positive or negative attitude towards it, that's on you.
I'm politically against marijuana, but we can smoke it.
Research purposes.
Oh goodness.
We actually have plenty of time. You can talk about a few of your.
You can talk about whatever
few of your
you want.
articles or
Oh.
stories or.
Fine. I mean,
Give us a
fine.
story.
Jesus, guys.
the whole time, guys.
All this time. Oh yeah, but so pretty much what I'm working on now.
Yeah,
So
just take it with you.
oh yeah. So what I've been working on now is this this piece for yabyum.com. So Yabyum is this really great local publication.
Yeah,
They've
we
been
saw that
around.
post that you wrote on.
Oh yeah. They've been around for a hot minute, and essentially it's an artist website that a lot of the Arizona population and some of the West Coast reads. And I'm doing this piece that kind of talks about how concert price gouging is kind of ruining the culture because less people are showing up to shows, mainly on the big front. Like, local concerts haven't really changed much in terms of
They're
price.
still like $10 for ticket fly.
But Taylor Swift is like $200, man.
That's for like shit seats too. That's not even like front
And
row.
you know what sucks, dude, is I actually went to that Taylor Swift concert with a friend, and I pissed her off, so I had to pay back the ticket. But that's another story. But yeah, it was $175 for these like really shitty balcony tickets to be surrounded around kids here. And I was fucking excited for Taylor Swift. I actually like her pop stuff, not a fan of country. But when I saw her show, I was like, you know what? I'm really high, and there's all these kids around, and I'm uncomfortable, kind of thing. Like I'm like, oh my god.
T Swift attracts the kids, man.
I thought that she'd be past it.
No way. No.
Yeah, I really
no.
thought that, maybe she'd be getting, a little more racy, like, she was growing up. But yeah, essentially, so what I'm writing about is there's kind of this issue that's been going on for years of these big promoters like Live Nation, these people who are putting on bigger shows in arenas and outdoor environments, including festivals, are gouging the prices to where if you go to like a big show, like I actually went to the Kesha Macklemore concert recently, and even though the tickets were cheaper,
Macklemore's still doing stuff?
he is.
Wow.
And he's actually this dude, he has a brass section, and he's a rapper. I'm impressed.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Live brass section.
Very cool.
But yeah, so pretty much I went to that concert. There were so many pockets of empty seats, and it kind of proved to me, I was like, this is the tipping point. This is like the tipping point where people are saying they don't want to pay these prices for tickets anymore. And yeah, you still see the socialites, you still see people who
Yeah.
But the surprising part is you'll see 1 million people in the cheap seats, but
No one up in the good ones, right?
exactly.
And you can't blame that because I don't like Kesha. I don't like Macklemore.
Yeah.
But that's me, and because I grew up in a different scene, and also I just have my own opinions on music. But everyone loves Kesha, and a lot of people like Macklemore, so you can't blame it on them like depleting in fan base. It's not that. It can't be that because they're still selling tons and tons of music, and they still have a lot of fans.
Yeah, and for the indie record, I am not a huge I do like pop music, but at the same time, to be honest, my grandma likes a lot of pop music too, and you know what? I freaking love my grandma.
Grandmas are killing it in the pop.
If she
scene.
wants to,
Oh,
if she wants to go to Kesha Macklemore, fuck, I'll go with her. Like
your grandma is fucking
Yeah.
weird, man. My grandma does perkies and lays in bed and watches soap operas.
Okay, let me tell you about my grandma. She was the woman who introduced me to video games. I grew up with the Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, Dreamcast, Atari, like all these kind of like
Granny.
old classic systems, and like she kind of like fostered that love, and
I see you over there.
I see you too. Oh my goodness. I see everything.
It's really interesting because my
Sounds like
perspective
Jack
on my
Nicholson.
grandma is one of them listens to country music and is like a Midwestern just country person. And the other one is from New York, and I don't think she listens to music.
You know what's funny is I bet your grandmas would say something like the lady at the salon said to me. I told her when I was getting my eyebrows done, I was telling her
They
that
look
I was
on fleek, by the way.
Oh,
They look
thank
great,
you.
of course.
I have thick eyebrows, and I have to keep them centered.
He's a thick boy.
Thick. But yeah. So I was getting my eyebrows done, and I told her, she was like, do you want to trim? And I told her, I was like, you know what, I'm trying to just kind of trying to grow my hair a little longer. I was like, I told her, I was like, I hang out with like a lot of metalheads, and I kind of just want to fit in, I guess. and she was just like, oh, you mean like 80s metal? You mean like hair metal? Like, do you want to tease it? And I was like, what?
Why
No.
does she have this accent?
Yeah.
Hey, you want to tease your hair, buddy? Lady!
I guess my generic salon worker is just just kind
From
of
Boston
coming.
and just wants to do your hair up in an updo. Smoking.
That was actually a real cough, but I included it in the
It worked. It
performance.
was very nice.
Now I'm real coughing, but yeah. but she didn't really understand the concept that I just wanted to grow it out. I didn't really like. I'm just doing my thing here.
Just trim it up, you know.
Yeah.
From somebody who's grown their hair out for a very long time, I would say just do it. Really
Exactly.
Just get over it, and it's all. I think when you have long hair, no matter what, straight, thin, thick, it's just gonna look good as fuck. You can do so much more with long hair than you can short hair, you know.
Exactly. You know, I love looking at that diagram of the Donald Trump diagram with his
DT,
hair,
yeah.
where it kind of like shows where he's bald at the top, but he has longer hair, so that his hairstylist just like, you know.
That sucks because it's not even Donald Trump doing that. That's somebody in a professional field of hair making him look like that.
Well, funny enough, there's actually some rumors going around that Ivanka Trump kind of makes fun of her dad's hair and, you know, to her friends in her free time, and how she describes it as a bald island in a sea of hair, where like it's kind of like he's bald on top, all down on the sides, and then they kind of style it in this circular Justin Bieber motion to kind of do that weird helmet thing that he goes on. And the reason why he looks so orange is because he specifically requests a product that's been used since like the 80s, and you know, when old people are stuck in their ways.
I saw him do an interview the other day, and I just thought it was his skin tone, but no, it's makeup. He's got a line.
Is it like spray tan?
He's got a line of like a lighter shade right underneath his neck, and his neck is just a normal person color, but his face that's how he likes it. He's choosing to be that person.
Someday I need to do like a, you know, just like a president style profile. Like,
can somebody Photoshop President Trump to look good? Can we just get like a different facial tone and maybe a little bit structure?
I think someone's done that before, and I mean, you know, it kind of just looked like, it depends what you think is good. Like, you know, it was kind of just like, you know, generic, like Tom Cruise, and, you know, I'm sure that's what he wants to look like, and that's what he's going after, but
it's not working. Is it working, Tyler?
Are we talking about the political figure or his?
We're talking about Trump and his outfits. Is it working or is it not?
Oh shit! Nah,
I think it's not
definitely
working.
Not. He looks like a Cheeto with some whipped cream on top.
Like a Cheeto whipped cream. That'd be really gross.
You know, apparently Trump has a blacklist for journalists, and I'm that's kind of like my life.
Oh,
I want
there,
to,
dude. You
but
gotta be on that.
It's like I'm in this weird point in my career where I want to piss people off, but I also, you know, even though I do tend to be more, you know, liberal anarchist, I don't want people to think that like I don't want to be the mouthpiece for that. I don't want like I don't want to talk about music and then just people be like, oh, you know, he likes a Beck. He must be part of the liberal media machine.
So you want to be the guy where some guy's like, hey, fuck you, and you're in the back like, yeah, fuck you.
I kind of, to be honest, my ideal is I want to be that person kind of like George Carlin, where it's kind of like, even though people disagree with him politically, he's right. And I guess that's my ego. Like, it's just like, I just want to be right.
You just want to be honest.
You're doing a good job, though. You're a very honest person. Like, the way that you are as a person is a very honest individual.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Now, Tyler, on the other hand, I think Tyler could do a little bit of opening up as far as honesty goes, you know?
Does the beard hide many secrets?
Beard hides many secrets.
Yeah, it hides the fact that I have a chin underneath.
It hides the fact that her testicles have touched more than once, is what it hides. It does. It hides that.
I feel like you're just including that just to, you know, like start some sexual energy.
That's what I was getting at. Are you sexually charged?
He did mention this was a porno.
Oh, yeah. This is supposed to be pornography.
Yeah. Oh, funny thing yesterday. So there was this performer, Asa Martin, that I saw. He's, I believe he's from Colorado. He's not from here, I could tell you that. So pretty much he's this really awesome acoustic performer. He plays the electric guitar and he kind of sings some self-penned songs. So first thing he does is he takes off all his clothes. And,
all of the clothes?
Yeah, and you know he's kind of like a built dude. He definitely kind of looks like he definitely didn't say he was a Marine, but if he said he was a Marine, I wouldn't be surprised.
How much of his clothes are we talking about?
Like I'm talking about down to his Hanes underwear. Like it was to the point.
I don't care about that.
Excuse me, when you like just purchased a Nikon and you know you're trying to start shooting things, it made me feel like I was shooting a Hanes commercial. Like
a little hot and heavy.
Well, I just didn't want him to think that I was looking for different angles of his crotch. And, on the other note, there was also another performer named Matt. I'm so sorry I forgot his last name without looking at my phone.
He's not going to sponsor us. Thanks.
But anywho, it was really funny because he plays a lot with his legs open. And, I was trying to get different angles, but his legs were opening just in my direction every time. So it's like...
He knew.
I didn't want to get more angles. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love crotch shots, but it's like I'm not hacky.
Yeah.
I'm not a...
You're a tasteful.
I want a tasteful crotch shots. Tasteful.
I sometimes feel like me being in a microphone is like the least tasteful thing that anybody could ever do because I like lowbrow penis jokes a lot. And I think that's kind of like a dead art.
I've always kind of struggled with how my voice sounds in the sense that I've always wanted to, in my mind, I've always wanted to be so full and have like a large, have access to my higher registers. But then I get on the mic and it's just like, I'm just too much for this.
You sound like in the moment you're dry humping something, like while you're talking like that.
But the funny thing is, I'm just sitting here, darling. I'm just sitting here. But yeah,
You should hear it in the headphones.
Sound good?
It does.
Oh, I'm so stoked about it. That's amazing.
yeah. But yeah. So pretty much, I forgot what I was saying, but like I was saying.
Oh, we have one. We have one on this podcast. Somebody lost train of thought. Woo! It's not me this time either.
It happens every single
ball.
podcast. Somebody just loses their train of thought.
Oh no, it's okay. But like I was saying in that article I was writing that to bring it all back around,
Full circle.
Yeah, full circle. Concerts are. I'm gonna pretty much elaborate in that piece on yabbam.com where concerts are essentially being brought down by ticket prices and commercialism, and we're seeing that in the Valley.
Oh, I have a question about that.
Yes.
It came to me before, but I did not get an opportunity to ask it, so I'm going to do it now. Do you think that lowering prices would actually make more people go to shows?
I think
is that,
would
is that
make
your
more money.
hypothesis?
Oh, I think so, definitely. Because the thing is that, there are people who definitely go, who see people who they're familiar with. But, be it either because I get free tickets or just someone takes me. Like, I go see a lot of concerts I normally wouldn't be interested in. And I
But
still
that
have a good
actually
time.
pertains to your career in a
That
sense.
does.
So
I'm getting
you
to
have
that.
more incentive to go to them. But for the layperson who's like, I don't know this band and I might go to the show, I might not go to the show. Do you think like a $5 ticket would work, or like free shows are better for the artist?
The thing is, I'm not saying free. I'm definitely not implying
Definitely.
free because, artists definitely have to make their money back. I'm aware that, the system is in place because to a point it does work. But the thing is on terms of the fans actually buying tickets, I don't really think that the problem is that there are cheaper priced tickets right now, but the thing is that they're in very horrible places. The whole scheme has kind of changed in the sense that fans, even bigger fans, are kind of like being placed in the back because of their price. I actually think that because of the diversity of pricing, if there was that, people would buy more tickets and that seats would be filled.
Yep.
I don't think I'm definitely not a proponent for, I do think that free concerts do have a place, but at the same time, I do agree that touring, you guys probably know this, touring is really the big moneymaker nowadays for bands. So like that's.
Yeah, we know. We've been on tour. We tour all the time. Fucking love touring. We've never been on tour.
No.
And that's, we won't get into that because it's not what this is about. But my ego is up the fucking wall right now.
Oh no, but
it's definitely in the future, but we haven't gotten to that point.
Yeah, funny thing though, think about this is it's how funny how like it's not about selling records anymore. And I mean, yes, it is about streaming and things like that, but a lot of most money is made back from from getting paid by promoters.
Oh yeah,
and
no,
just,
it hasn't been about selling records or merch for a long time, and we know that going in, and I think a lot of people know.
Which
that.
is kind of funny because your music is very, very important, obviously,
No,
but that's not what
People
sells.
want to go to the show. People want to. We get it's ticket sales, and the more you get, the more money that you get kicked back. Like right now, we're not low end, but we're on the lower totem pole of a starting band. Right? We've been around for like 6 or 7 years, and we played a lot of shows. But we're coming out with like a brand new album that's going to kind of mark us with a sound, like an actual genuine sound. And we're still only getting 2% of $10 tickets. And that's how it's going to, when we go in, that's how it's going to be. Because we're not touring. We're doing local shows, and that's how local shows are. And
That's how it was 2 years ago. We haven't played a show in a long time.
I can't imagine it's changed too much. Maybe
But
we get 1% now.
well, I've
know.
seen, we've been invited to a lot of shows as well, and it's still the pretty standard, like $10 a ticket, $12 a ticket.
Sometimes
the
we do
trunk
free.
space is usually cheaper, isn't it?
Yeah. On the positive note, in terms of the concert scene in Arizona, though, that I want to mention is I do think that things have improved in a certain sense that, like, I don't know if you remember, but things kind of, like, halted around 2011 when that whole SB 1070 thing was going
Yeah.
on. And there were so many artists.
We only started around 2012, so we weren't in the scene prior to that.
Okay, gotcha. But I mean,
We were actually like 16 at that point.
Oh, shit, yeah.
I had one acoustic guitar and he had one electric guitar. We didn't know Lester played drums. So. Actually, Lester didn't play drums. He started playing drums because we wanted him in the band.
He played drums in California, but he hadn't played drums in years.
Also, our bassist didn't play bass until we asked him to come and join, and then he learned bass for us, and then now he's like a boss bassist.
I just started learning bass guitar, actually. Like, I
You
kind of...
left-handed or right-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Everybody's right-handed.
And you know what's hilarious though is I almost got a left-handed bass just because it was cheap, like just because somebody was selling it secondhand. But I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah.
Definitely. But that's fun. So I had a question for you during all of this. Is let's say I wanted to be a journalist. You know, I wanted to get up there, take some photos, do some honest writing and investigating. Do you have any, like, because you said it's pretty saturated. There's a lot of people going out there trying to freelance and getting paid, becoming professional. Do you have any, like, tips as a professional?
Well, it kind of just depends what you're trying to accomplish. So pretty much, if you are just trying to, like, if your passion is just simply just writing, you could go to a publication and be like, here's kind of a sample of my writing and here's what I want to do. And because publications are always looking for writers, mainly free, like they'll be like, oh yeah, here, do this. It kind of, like I said, it depends what you're going after. If you kind of want to develop an entire brand and this is what you want to do as your career, that definitely, like, takes time because, like I said, I've only been doing this for 3 years and I still feel like my brand is largely unfinished and I have a lot of work to do with that. Yeah. It's kind of, because, like I said, the hardest part about being a writer and journalist in this day and age is that it's literally every single party or person. It's not as easy as getting hired in a newsroom and literally being disconnected from your job because you're just writing in an office. It's the point where you have to be a writer, photographer, all these different things. The thing is if you want to work professionally, I would suggest like a BA minimum. They don't usually ask for journalism degrees, but it is definitely good to have a background.
Gotta know what you're doing.
Exactly.
You just do. Well, so then I have another follow-up question. Kind of. How do you pick and choose where you want to go to write?
Well, that's also another kind of goals kind of question.
Have you ever just like been walking down the street, like let's say Mill Avenue, 51 West playing a show, and it's like a free show, and you're like, I'll write about it. And
yeah.
Just walk in and like do a write on it.
Well, a lot of the time when you're trying to get in on these publications, you kind of have to offer a sample piece. My first publication I started working for, music-wise, relentlessbeats.com, I actually offered a sample piece for one of their shows for this DJ named Shiba-san, who was doing something at Shady Park down on Mill. And that was my first piece, and it was just a sample piece, too. So it's kind of like, if you're a writer and you love writing, just write about whatever kind of comes to your mind, and that's actually how people notice you, too. And, like, just pretty much read. That's another big thing. Read other people's publications and writings, because if you're only like focusing on your work, you should make writing collaborative.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I've had kind of like a fantasy about writing and doing what you do. I think it'd just be cool to walk into a room and people go, is that Jesse fucking Martinez right there? Oh shit. Like,
not for that aspect for me. It was more like I love music and I want to do anything relative to music. So like photojournalism or like actual writing journalism or like videography stuff for musicians sounds really appealing.
You're telling me that if you walked into a room and somebody looked at you and went, that's Tyler fucking Beck right there, you wouldn't get the biggest hard-on of your life.
I would definitely be flattered, but I'd try to stay humble.
I'd pop my collar. I would look like that villain who's like an asshole writer. Be like, you're fucking right it is. Get the fuck out of my way.
You know what's funny?
Coffee or some shit.
You know what's funny is, of course there's people in school that I, went to school with who also want to do the same thing that, I don't like and we don't get along. But when it comes to like writing, you never feel like you're going to see like a, in quotes, enemy writer, like it's Pokemon or, like some kind of anime. But really, a lot of the time when I see other writers in public and like, it's people I know, it's more so kind of like, oh, we do the same thing and we're having a really hard time paying rent. How you doing? Like, like it's kind of like that. In terms of people who like know my work and stuff, I don't really like, if I were to have a fan base, I call it the void. Like, I kind of don't really have any writers that are reaching out readers that are reaching out to me, but my editors tell me that people read my crap, and that's surprising to me. So I kind of like call my readers the void, in the sense that like it's kind of like the void of death. Like, it's like this silence that's like, that's like apparently people are reading but not. There are people who do recognize me at shows sometimes, but I don't really think of myself as like, oh, they recognize me because I'm a writer. I think of it kind of like, oh, they recognize me because I'm like this little fly with this camera just like go around like
I don't know,
kind of thing.
I think if I saw you at a show taking photos, writing stuff down, and whatever, I respect people who do that, because we play shows. I'll say it 1,000 times, and we play shows. We're a band. We play shows. But I would love to see that in the crowd. I would never have an issue with that. If I was like doing some Gigi Allen shit, I was like shitting into my hand and like throwing it at people and like punching people in the crowd, I'd look over and see a journalist and be like, that's pretty cool. And then like keep doing it,
I think it's definitely more my insecurity that says something like that, because it kind of like walking around with the camera and just being that person, it makes you feel exposed, and it's weird because I love communicating with people, but at the same time
you become a vocal point, or not a focal point.
Yeah,
because not everybody's there. You have a vocal point,
and it's like it's really easy for me to walk up to a band after their set and ask them about their set list and stuff like that. But it's actually really hard for me to like talk to other people in the crowd. Like, I'm always worried that I sometimes come off as aloof, because I'm kind of like to give you an example, last show I did tag myself on Facebook, but none of my friends were there, so I kind of was just like kind of like standing around looking around. I did talk to like some of the artists, but I was kind of just like
So you're kind of a nervous Nelly when it comes to actual socialization, huh?
Oh, definitely. What were you gonna say?
How about we help you out with that, and you plug your website? Where can we find your content, I guess?
Well, guys, you could find me on loganjlr.wordpress.com, and if you Google my name, Logan Lowrey-Rasmussen, spelled LOWREY-RASMUSSEN.
Make sure you get the breath in there.
you actually won't find anyone else. I am the only freaking person with that name on Google. So, yep, type in Logan JLR2, you'll find all my social handles.
Awesome.
All right, guys. I think that's gonna wrap it up for us on Your Thoughts podcast with the Logue. Is it okay if I call you the Logue?
Oh my goodness! Wow, now I feel like I'm on like Kiss FM or something with John Jay and Rich.
It was
Your Thoughts
KUNT.
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 Oh yes, KUNT. All
that
the
was a
cunts
good
all the
intro,
time.
but now it's time for the
KUNT.
outro. Thank you guys for tuning in. This was Jesse Martinez.
And Tyler Beck.
And make sure you're looking for Logan
Lowrey-Rasmussen. Find me at loganjlr.wordpress.com, or just type Logan JLR into Google and you will find me. I promise.
He's good at what he does. He's good at what he's going to do. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next weekend. Not a real fade out.
And that concludes episode 7 of Your Thoughts podcast.